Yeah, you read the title of this video and it's not what you think. Honestly, unless you've been living under a rock these last few weeks, big news surrounding the Smiling Friends community hit the waves with the two of the creators of the series, Michael Cusack and Zach Haydel, made an announcement that Smiling Friends is getting cancelled after season 3, being the definitive end to this much beloved show. Well, not quite. It's not a typical show cancellation being orchestrated by Adult Swim. It's a special case when we see a show's creator ending it on their terms, which will always be a respectable thing. So why the cancellation? Well, in their announcement video posted on Adult Swim's Twitter account, they went over how they actually felt a little bit of creative burnout that has stifled their belief on continually developing a good product that they and what they think the fans would enjoy. So to avoid just pushing out slop that they think aren't up to the standards they set, they feel content with how season 1 to 3 were made and developed, and feel like this was a good stopping point for the series. Despite being renewed last year by Adult Swim to have 2 more seasons planned, they feel better off ending on a high note for the series, whether run the risk of either providing lesser content or anything that can tarnish the show's reputation that they built over the last few years, with the show being put in the mainstream spotlight. So with shocking news like this, it only garners a bigger reaction from the fans, since Smiling Friends became a global juggernaut, making their presence known not only within niche internet spaces, but starting to branch off to the wider pop culture spectrum, with the popularity of the show rising on the same level with other Adult Swim classics like Rick and Morty, and it was actually looking like to be the new network's golden goose. So with the news with the abrupt end, arguably one of Adult Swim's most popular series within recent years, what were the reactions? To say, the reaction was what you expect, loud and divided among the fans. On one side, there are those who are sad but grateful that Smiling Friends can go out on his own terms and avoid the risk of becoming shows similar to Rick and Morty or The Simpsons, series with huge pop cultural impact, but in recent years have left some fans feeling like they overstayed their welcome, with the overall product becoming diluted to the point that they're just a husk of their former glory days. And the other side being of course disappointed with the abrupt end, with high hopes of seeing more from this series, and understandably so. It's hard to let go of something that you either liked or loved, and Smiling Friends was on track to become a beloved classic that would have cemented themselves among the greats. I think the reason we're seeing such a strong reaction is of course because how much people are generally liking the show, and for good reasons too. Smiling Friends was creative, original, funny, and most importantly authentic. With so much creative freedom given to them by Adult Swim to fully realize their vision, it felt like something special. Smiling Friends was an example of real human ingenuity, talent, and passion, and because of that, it was respected and cherished to the highest degree, leaving the fandom a hunger for more, because quite frankly, in my opinion, modern day television hasn't really been keeping up in quality over the years, with the rise of streaming services taking over, and more recently, the success of newer indie animation. Because of that, I've been personally struggling to find a reason to care about basic television at all. My honest reaction to seeing the news was that I thought it was a big fat joke until I realized, nah, they're being dead serious. And in my honest opinion, no, my honest truth, a series like Smiling Friends deserve to be cancelled within the given context, and I'm gonna explain why. One of the biggest complaints I've heard surrounding the news that some people are pointing out how Smiling Friends had a fairly short run, with 3 seasons consisting of 10 episodes each, around a 10 to 12 minute runtime. Downplaying the amount of effort needed to craft a show like this, they allude to the idea that Zach and Michael could easily stretch out the series to another 2 seasons. And no, that's just plain stupid. Creative burnout or fatigue is a real thing, and as a creative, it's often our biggest weakness from time to time. Ask any musician, artist, writer, or even an athlete, no matter how much passion and love you may have for an interest, eventually you'll run into a wall or a ceiling, and you start to doubt the productivity and purpose of what you're doing. Michael and Zach questioned their ability to continue on the same level of exhaustion they experienced over the last 3 seasons. It's the best thing they could have done. It truly takes an honest person to say, hey, maybe I peaked and I should stop before it gets bad. Especially when it comes to the entertainment industry, one of the biggest complaints about the animated series is that when you truly have a successful show running for a surplus amount of time, a certain fraction of the fandom will start to question the quality of the product, and more often than not, an overall dip in content eventually begins to show, to the point where the show becomes unrecognizable to the viewers it once cultivated, with its core themes and concept lost to time. With certain fan favorites, relevant and complex characters end up being reduced to the simplest versions of themselves. themselves. This is damn near the death of a show. Since these series are ultimately stories, we need to understand that what makes a story good is that it doesn't last forever. It has to end. All things, whether good or bad, will eventually come to a close. And simply prolonging that is just a pointless fight against the inevitable. Sure, it's totally possible for Zack and Michael to pump out at least 2 more seasons, racking up more money and attention for Adult Swim and themselves. But they understand that doing so runs the risk of disappointing their fans. And that's a level of respect many major companies simply don't have. Some corporations act like there's some infallible entity that can serve whatever slop they want, assuming people just eat it up. And to those fans who rather see Zack and Michael push through and deliver season 4 and 5, knowing where they're at creatively, do you really want to run that risk of getting an inferior and lesser product to simply satisfy your own needs? A show like Smiling Friends only works because of the creative passion everyone on the staff has. To the characters, the animation style, it's the core foundational structure of the show. And if we're at the point where the 2 creators say this might be the best course of action for the show, we simply have to respect that and appreciate what Smiling Friends is and what it was to us. A show like Smiling Friends should only end on the creators' terms. And if Zack and Michael feels like the show should end on a high note, with that being season 3, it's exactly what a show like this deserves. If the show being cancelled preserved the show's creative integrity and quality as a product, that's exactly what the show needs. News like this are never easy for the fans. Whether Zack or Michael could have given us 5 or even 8 more seasons of Smiling Friends, filled with passion, love, and care, the show ending wasn't a matter of if, only when. Even though it could feel like a band-aid being ripped off a little bit too early, I'm glad to have witnessed a show of this caliber. With 2 of the last episodes set to come out in April, we should take the time to enjoy them, and remember, don't be sad that it ended, be glad that it happened. I'm your host Taken, and we do a little reviewing around here. Peace out.